pertaining landlords and tenants in maintaining a good living standard. Furthermore, he also listed the rules guiding house rents and the rights of tenants, stressing that caretakers and house agents are not landlords. He advised tenants to take proper responsibility of any house rented to them. This was made known on an open floor discussion on Acnn TV now streaming morning show.
A landlord is the owner of a house. An agent is not a landlord. Caretaker is not a landlord. An attorney is not a landlord. Okay. All these may act on behalf of the landlord. But the landlord is a person who has a legal title to a property. So the person may give a power of attorney to a caretaker, an attorney, or an agent. Okay, please, for the sake of this property, you handle the rent and everything. That does not make that person a landlord. The person is only acting. Okay. The landlord is, in the contemplation of the law, the legal person who holds a legal title is a landlord. And a tenant is anybody who leases a property for any purpose, commercial, residential, private, business, whatever. Any person who leases a property is a tenant. What makes a tenant is that you have paid a rent. It is the value for living in a particular premises, the value for a particular property, for living there, for leasing it. If you are paying rent, you are leasing a property for a specific period of time, say for 1 week, say for 2 days. As a landlord, your right is to collect rent, make certain improvements as need warrant. Right to enter and inspect, right to give entrance to the landlord to, for inspection, and then right to allow the tenant to peaceful living of the premises. Peaceful enjoyment, rather. Right to peaceful enjoyment of the premises. Right of a tenant is to keep the premises in a habitable state, to pay all the necessary rates as may be required. Right to peaceful enjoyment of the demised property, not to be harassed with unnecessary notices. Now, some of these rights may not be particularly enshrined, but from case laws, you can deduce these rights. For the landlord now, you should not rely to self-help. Even the tenant. Take, for instance, my rent is due. My landlord comes in and breaks my door and starts throwing out my things. That is self-help. Landlords do it. You rent an apartment, ensure they give you a tenancy agreement. Okay. This is one mistake most Nigerians do. For every property you are renting, even if it is 2,000 naira you are paying, make sure there is an agreement.
In other stories, Ms. Utenge Effiong expressed immense satisfaction at being part of a foundation dedicated to empowering girls through education. She emphasized the foundation's primary goal of rescuing young girls from the streets and demonstrating the transformative power of education. During an interview with Acnn News Crew, Ms. Effiong outlined additional objectives, including creating a conducive learning environment and providing essential resources to support girls' academic success.
I am very proud and happy to be among the people who want to push the educational further. Well, we are trying as much as we could to take a lot of female children out from the street and to show them the necessity and the reason why they should be in school and the benefit while they should be in school. So we are trying to secure a good environment for them first, and also to provide the necessary things they need so that they can see education not as a punishment but as a road to their future. So I'm really happy to be among, because I can recall when I was in school, I also had this kind of environment and this kind of scenario, and this alone encouraged me to some extent. So I believe that with this little one we have done so far, we are hoping to do more. We will be able to encourage the female child especially to put more effort in education, because females are also part of the organization and also part of the society. So if we train a female child, we are training an extra generation to come. So I am proud and happy for this privilege.
Meanwhile, Mr. Akin Bisola, founder of Youth Employ and Development Initiatives, have urged the federal government and other organizations to adopt such initiatives.
I think this is commendable, and I just want to call for other people who want to support this kind of initiative. One Cares Foundation is doing a great work, and I'm here today to support, and I understand the important value that needs to be placed to education. And even beyond that, creating a conducive environment for the students to be able to learn, giving them the educational kits and the aids they need to be able to succeed. Possibility of providing more kits to the students, probably in form of textbooks. Some of them have gotten scholarships, a full section scholarship today. Some of them have gotten some educational material, bags, exercise books and writing materials and all of that.
Moving forward, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has urged communities to heed to early warnings in order to reduce impacts of flood in Nigeria. Director General of the agency, Zubaida Omar, represented by Director of Administration and Finance, Sani Ahmed, made this call in Dutse while handling over 155,020 liters of liquid fertilizer to Jigawa State government, adding that the call is imperative in order to reduce the impacts of flood on communities and properties. He said the most important thing is for communities to take prompt measures and relocate whenever the government gives such directives. He pointed out that it is the responsibility of communities to first intervene whenever disaster occurs. Hence the need to heed to early warnings by authorities. According to him, the fertilizer was approved for the state under the National Food Security Council Emergency Agricultural Intervention to farmers affected by 2018 flood in the state. Responding, the Deputy Governor Aminu Usman, on behalf of the State Governor Malam Umar Namadi, commended the agency for the gesture, assuring that the items will be distributed to deserving farmers, as the fertilizers will be handed over to the State Emergency Management Agency for onward distribution to the beneficiaries. He also urged the beneficiaries to make judicious use of the fertilizers in order to enhance food production and food security in their communities, states, and the nation in general. Meanwhile, in his remarks, SEMA's Executive Secretary in the state, Dr. Haruna Meriga, promised that the items will be fairly distributed to the beneficiaries. And now a recap of the major stories. A retired priest in the Diocese of Abuja, Venerable Peter Okoromade, celebrates God's faithfulness at 80. Women are advised to be courageous and attribute the attitude of humility. Plus, the Bible Society of Nigeria has held the 14th African Biblical Leadership Initiative Conference in Abuja with the theme of the conference, Value-Based Leadership, Model for Africa. Well, this is it on News on the Hour. Thank you for staying with us. I am Promise Njoku Adibe. Have a wonderful midweek.
You can't deceive God. None of us can deceive God.
Nobody can actually become a leader if God has not ordained it.
What is the right knowledge? The right knowledge is scripture.
Yes, sir.
Because the Bible is light years ahead of science.
But I usually will ask God, how do I explain this thing in a way that